Coach, just touching base after coming off, obviously, the extra time off. Health-wise, you feel like everybody that you had hoped to get back was able to kind of get healthy, and you're going to be able to get majority of your guys back for this week?
Yeah, the guys who've been out for the season continue to stay out. Alex Fontana, Cam Elliff up front, Dylan Burden, Marquez Stevenson, Colin Wilder. Everybody else is back to some degree. Khalil Williams is still nursing a sprained ankle, but I feel like he should be able to get back possibly this week, if not this week, next week.
You know, we touched on this a little bit last week, but heading into this two-game stretch now with the two teams that pretty much triple option teams, were you able to get some work in, and how much does now it ratchet up now that it's game week as far as preparing for the specifics of that kind of an offense?
Yeah, I mean, it came at a great time for two reasons. One, for health and just getting everybody back. You know, the guys that weren't injured, just getting their legs underneath them. The guys that were nicked up, getting them back to full speed, and the guys that are injured closer towards being able to play. But the second part of it is defensively. I mean, you've got two teams that present, you know, different issues. You know, they're not quote-unquote NCAA offenses. They're teams that have triple option element, you know, in what they do offensively. They've got great players that are running it and great coaches that are coaching it. So to steal a couple days for each opponents during an off week to kind of get ahead on it, get them out of some of the spread offensive world and get them more dialed into, you know, dive pitch quarterback or dive quarterback pitch and get them more into those rules, the responsibilities of what they've got to do was helpful.
Along those lines, Major, you've when it's different types of offenses, you have somebody on scout team that can run that and really be able to do it. Can you simulate that in practice?
You know, I think we can simulate some of the speed, you know, with Banks. But the physicality, the size he is difficult. You know, not only is he fast and elusive, but he's a difficult guy to bring down. You know, it's very difficult to replicate what Hilliard's done, running over 1,000 yards, great back, very good back. You know, great ball security, good vision, breaks tackles. But we've got some guys that have tried to emulate that in the last week.
I was going to ask you, DeJuan Hines, when he was recruited, I know you weren't here, but he came in as an athlete. He was a quarterback in high school. He's played a number of positions and finally starting to see maybe the fruits of the progress that he's made. Can you just kind of address where that step maybe he's taken from last year to this year in terms of?
I mean, he came in, from what I understand, was told to have a shot at quarterback, and I don't know how long he was in that room, but he was in the quarterback room for a few minutes and then went over to wide receiver and then went over to safety and then, you know, continued to get bigger and stronger and moved to linebacker and has done a great job for us this year. Proud of the way he's responded to his role as a senior and has played really good football and proud of him.
Just to add on with DeJuan, how important is it, do you feel, maybe for people to realize that you're going to go out and try to recruit those guys, you're going to be able to play immediately, but you're also going to land some of these guys that maybe wait till their junior or senior years or even that fifth year, senior year before they really become like, you know, DeJuan's going to end up being a whole year, you know, a year's worth of a starter for you at a position that's pretty important. So how important is it for you to just continue to, I don't know, represent that in the recruiting world, that not only you're not just going to get the big home run guys are going to come in as freshmen and play immediately, but you also got to have some of these guys as well that are going to mature slowly and fill holes.
You know, I think that's part of just being an athlete and being patient and understanding that it's not on our time, our opportunities. You know, I'm sure when DeJuan came in, he thought he could play quarterback and then thought he could play wide out and thought he could play safety and then ended up at linebacker. And as a program, we're going to always recruit guys to come in and play right off the bat. If you're behind an all-conference guy and Stephen Taylor and you're behind a Super Bowl starter and draft pick for the New England Patriots, Landon Roberts, then life gets difficult. But you keep working hard and you keep paying attention to, you know, the details of everything that you're doing all the way from off-season to, you know, what blitz, what coverage. Then you get your opportunity, and when you get your opportunity, you're ready and you're prepared for it. And that's where DeJuan's done a great job. Is there's been some great players, you know, ahead of him, some draft picks, and so he's done a great job of understanding the defense, learning it, and then when he had his opportunity, he's gone out there and made good use of it.
So, Coach, you're about to wrap up your first year as head coach, for full-time head coach. What's your biggest takeaway?
You know, I honestly haven't gotten very introspective on that. There's just been things along the way that you pick up week in and week out, game in, game out. Here's where I can be better. Here's where I wasn't as prepared as I need to be. Here's where I was over prepared. Somebody else can do that. There's a lot of different things that go on in the first year. Everything from game time decisions to how do you want to work your official visit weekends? How do you want to run off season? What reward system do you want to put in there? Incentives for players doing the right thing. There's all kind of things, and those things just kind of get evaluated and quality control is done after those events. It's hard for me to say there's one or two things, but I'm sure after the bowl game, be able to sit down and look at it and critically look at myself and say, here's where I screwed up and here's where I can do better.
Major Ed told us last week that he finally was able to get the brace off. I was wondering,
Yeah.
with it off, I guess mission accomplished in terms of getting him healthy, and you're confident that moving forward that's good, but just the ability to maybe take that shackle off and let him, be Ed.
Yeah, he told me, he said they took my leash off. And so I didn't know what he was talking about at first, and then I saw he didn't have his knee brace on. So he feels great about it, and all those things are for precaution, safety precaution, and as long as he's feeling good, feeling healthy and ready to go, I'm feeling good and healthy and ready to go. Can you speak in the microphone? I can't hear you from here. I'm kidding.
You've gotten, in the last few weeks, Anini and Godfrey have
Yeah.
seen some increased playing time. I wonder if you could talk about that position, exactly what you've seen, and maybe all three of those guys that you have there are coming back moving forward. What you'd like maybe to accomplish the last couple of weeks?
Well, when you play Godfrey and you play Anini and Emeki, there's obviously bigger bodies on the field. Some of that's been, based on scheme. Some of that's been because of our injury situation with Khalil out and Grant Stewart out. So now you're low on nickels. So now you have to play more base personnel and put Dewan and Austin in the box and let Matt stay in the box and let Anini and Abule and Godfrey get on the outside and play outside backers. And, it makes you a little bit more vulnerable in coverage in terms of playing man because you can't put those guys out over a slot receiver, but it makes you thicker in terms of perimeter play. So you have bigger bodies. Wideouts have a more difficult time blocking guys like Anini and Abule outside. So, I think it's a good job by Coach D'Onofrio and Coach Carroll and our staff to make adjustments while a Colin Wilder is out, while a Grant Stewart is out, a Patrick Rosette is out, a Khalil Williams is out. You start missing all these bodies. You've got to find some way to line up 11, and done a good job the last 2 weeks of adjusting, and hopefully this off week some of those guys will come back and we can get into some of our other normal calls and personnels, excuse me.
I did want to ask you about the postseason. Now that you know that you have a bowl game, I realize it's out of your hands where you go, but is there, besides the practices that you get, is there value to, if you have a destination where maybe you're playing one of the so-called, Power Fives versus, I don't want to call it a lesser conference, but just one of the smaller conferences? I mean, or at that point, are you just glad to get those extra practices in a postseason game, and it's not so much about the opponent?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about continuing to expose guys to offense, defense, special teams, getting more reps, more competitive reps, more pressure, more detail, just being in that environment as opposed to taking a month off. It just helps our football team, especially with some of the youth that we have, because we've been, senior, junior, true freshman back up, and so it allows you to get some more reps and get those guys prepared. And, wherever we go and whoever we play, we're going to be grateful as a program to be there. I haven't been to a bad bowl yet. They're all good. So we're going to have a great time wherever we go, and we're going to get better.
Running backs. You've had Duke, who this 9 weeks he's pretty banged up. But you have Mulba for Dylan. Anything with the other guys, Davey, and how you want to move forward? You hope to get them some time, or is it just kind of have to play out how the games go? And
it'd have to play out how the game's going. Obviously the first two have gotten a tremendous amount of game reps, so those two guys, we're going to play those guys as much as humanly possible. You really don't need to enter a third back into the mix unless he's proven himself worthy or you get to an injury situation where it's necessary. So both Carr and Catalan have given us quality snaps and done well with the snaps, so we're going to let those guys carry the load the rest of the season as long as they stay healthy.